It was 5 a.m. The world was still asleep. The sky was dark, the streets silent, and the only sound was the slow tick of the clock beside Daniel's bed. He sat there, staring at the ceiling, lost in his thoughts. Life had not been kind to him lately. His dreams felt far away, and every morning felt heavier than the last, but this morning, something felt different. Last night before sleeping, Daniel watched a video, a Denzel Washington speech. In that speech, Denzel said something that hit him deep. Every morning, you have two choices: keep sleeping with your dreams, or wake up and chase them. Those words stayed in his mind all night. Now, as the first light touched his window, Daniel made a promise to himself. This morning will not be like others. He stood up, looked in the mirror, and whispered, "Today, I start again." His eyes were tired, but for the first time in months, they had fire. Daniel picked up a small notebook from his table, one he hadn't used in years. On the first page, he wrote, 9 things to tell myself every morning. It was something he wanted to build, a list that could keep him strong every single day. Before he wrote the first one, he paused and remembered what Denzel said in that speech. If you want to fly, you have to first believe you can. So Daniel wrote the first line. 1. I am capable. He looked at those 3 words again and again. They felt small, but powerful. He whispered them out loud. I am capable. Something inside him shifted. For the first time, he didn't feel weak. He didn't feel broken. He felt alive. Then he went outside, barefoot, feeling the cold ground under his feet. The air was sharp, the morning quiet. But inside him, a storm was rising. He started to walk, repeating those words again and again. I am capable. I am capable. Each step made him stronger. Each breath gave him more power. People passing by didn't notice the change, but Daniel could feel it. A new beginning was forming. That morning became the first page of his new life. A life built on belief, purpose, and the daily decision to rise again. He didn't know it yet, but this was only the start. There were 8 more truths waiting to be discovered. 8 more things he would tell himself every morning, and each one would take him closer to the life he always dreamed of. The next morning, Daniel woke up before the alarm again. The sky was still a soft gray, and the cold morning air touched his face. But this time, something was different. He didn't feel lost. He remembered the words from yesterday. I am capable. It wasn't just a sentence anymore, and it was becoming a belief. He opened his notebook again, the one where he wrote his first line. He smiled softly and whispered, time for the second one. He thought for a while. His life wasn't perfect. He had problems, bills, failures, and regrets. But he also had something many people didn't: a second chance, a heart still beating, and the ability to try again. Then Denzel's voice from that old video echoed in his mind. Give thanks for what you have, and you'll end up having more. But if you focus on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. Those words hit deep. So Daniel wrote his next morning truth. 2. I am thankful for what I have. He looked around, his small room, his old table, his cup of tea that wasn't even hot anymore, and smiled. For the first time, he realized these simple things were not small. They were blessings. He whispered again, I am thankful for what I have. As he said it, a quiet peace filled the room. The worries didn't disappear, but they became lighter. His mind, which used to be full of why me, started to fill with thank you. He remembered his mother's words from childhood. When you thank God for the small things, He prepares you for the big ones. Daniel closed his eyes and imagined his dreams, the job he wanted, the home he wished for, the success he prayed for. He didn't have them yet, but he felt something powerful: faith. That morning, he made a habit. Before doing anything, before checking his phone, before talking to anyone, he would say 5 things he was thankful for. He started, I am thankful for my health. I am thankful for another day. I am thankful for my family. I am thankful for food to eat. I am thankful for one more chance to change. The words were simple, but they changed his heart. As the sun slowly rose, Daniel stood near the window. The golden light touched his face. He felt alive again, not because everything was perfect, but because he had learned to see beauty even in his struggles. That morning, gratitude became his new strength. It was like a light that made the darkness fade. He didn't know it, but this small act of thankfulness was building something powerful inside him, something that would prepare him for the next truth, and the next one would test his courage like never before. The rain was heavy that morning. Dark clouds covered the sky and the sound of thunder rolled through the streets. Daniel stood by the window, watching the raindrops slide down the glass. For a moment, that old feeling returned. Doubt. He had been trying to stay positive, repeating his morning truths. I am capable. I am thankful. But life doesn't always change in a few days. His problems were still there. His job search, his bills, his empty fridge. He sighed deeply. Maybe this doesn't work, he whispered. Then he remembered another line from Denzel Washington's speech. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Without struggle, there is no strength. Those words hit him like lightning. Maybe this pain wasn't a punishment, maybe it was a test. He walked to his notebook again, water dripping from his hands after touching the rain. He opened to the next page and wrote his third truth. 3. I will not give up, no matter how hard it gets. He looked at those words for a long time. They didn't feel easy, but they felt right. Daniel sat down and closed his eyes. He remembered every time he had failed, every rejection letter, every broken promise, every night he thought of quitting. But he also remembered something else. He was still here. He realized that courage wasn't about not being afraid. Courage was about standing tall even when fear is screaming in your ear. He whispered softly, I will not give up. Again, louder this time, I will not give up. Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside him, something began to rise. His heart was tired, but his spirit refused to stop. He went for a walk, even in the rain. Each step felt heavy, but powerful. He didn't care about getting wet. He wanted to remind himself that pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. People looked at him strangely as he walked in the storm, but he smiled, because that storm outside was nothing compared to the one he had already survived inside. By the time he returned home, the rain had slowed. He sat by the window again, his clothes wet, but his soul calm. He whispered one last time, every drop of rain washes away my fear. I will keep moving no matter what. That night, Daniel slept with peace in his heart. He didn't have everything he wanted, but he had something stronger, the will to continue. He didn't know it yet, but this courage would soon open new doors. Because when a man refuses to quit, the universe starts to move for him. The next morning, the sun rose clear and bright after a long night of rain. Daniel opened his eyes slowly. He could still hear Denzel's voice echoing in his mind. Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. He sat up and thought deeply. He had been telling himself, I am capable. I am thankful. I will not give up. But something was still missing. He realized that belief and courage were not enough if there was no action. So he made a decision. This morning, he would create structure. He went to the kitchen, made a cup of tea, and took out his notebook again. The next page was blank, waiting for a new truth. He wrote slowly, 4. I will stay disciplined even when I don't feel like it. He looked at the sentence. Those words were not exciting like motivation, not emotional like courage, but he knew they were powerful. Because success doesn't come from doing things once. It comes from doing them every day. Daniel remembered how many times he had started things and never finished. The gym, his online course, his business ideas. Every time he had motivation in the beginning but no discipline in the middle. This time, he wanted to change that. He set a small rule for himself. Wake up at 5 a.m., no matter what. Even if tired, even if sad, even if there's no result yet. That morning, he began with small steps. He cleaned his room, wrote his goals, and made a daily plan. At first, it felt boring. He wanted excitement, not routines. But soon he realized discipline creates progress and progress creates motivation. As the days passed, something inside him started to shift. The same Daniel who once woke up late now greeted every sunrise. The same Daniel who once said, "I can't," now said, "I will." One day his friend called and said, "Bro, you've changed. You look more focused." Daniel smiled and replied, "I'm just keeping promises to myself." He understood now. Discipline was self-respect. When he followed his word, his confidence grew. Every small win made him stronger. Every routine made him calmer. He stopped waiting for perfect time. He stopped waiting for motivation. Because he learned, the right time is now, and the right person to start is himself. That night, before sleeping, he looked at his notebook again. 4 truths written, each one building him piece by piece. He whispered softly, "Discipline is my weapon, and with it, I will build my life." The next morning would bring a new challenge, a new truth, one that would teach him the real meaning of believing in himself, even when the world didn't. Days turned into weeks. Daniel's mornings were now full of quiet power, his notebook, his tea, his discipline. But even with all his effort, life still tested him. He applied for jobs, sent emails, and waited for replies. Days passed, then weeks. No answer came. Doubt returned like a shadow. He sat on his bed one night staring at his phone, thinking, maybe I'm not good enough. That same night he played one of Denzel Washington's speeches again. Denzel's deep voice filled the silence. Don't be afraid to dream big. People will laugh. People will doubt. But remember, their disbelief is not your reality. Those words hit Daniel's heart hard. He realized something. All his life he had been waiting for others to believe in him. But the truth was simple. No one can believe for you. You have to do it yourself. The next morning he opened his notebook and wrote his 5th truth. 5. I believe in myself, even if no one else does. He stared at those words for a long time. They felt heavy, but powerful. He remembered the people who once doubted him. His old boss who said he wasn't good enough. His friends who laughed at his ideas. Even his relatives who said he was wasting his time. But today, something changed. For the first time, their voices didn't matter. Because Daniel realized, the only voice that truly shapes your future is your own. He whispered to himself, I believe in me. He said it again, louder, I believe in me. He stood in front of the mirror, looking into his own eyes. The same face that once looked tired now looked determined. The same eyes that once saw fear now saw faith. That day, Daniel went out again, applying for jobs, sharing his work online, meeting new people. Some ignored him, some rejected him, but he didn't stop, because now his confidence didn't depend on anyone's approval. He told himself, every great person was once doubted. Denzel too. They all started alone. And that gave him strength. That night, he looked at the notebook again and smiled. 5 truths now. Each one a weapon against fear, doubt, and failure. He whispered softly before sleeping, if I can believe in myself today, tomorrow will believe in me. Outside his window, the city lights shimmered. Somewhere out there, opportunities were waiting. Not for the perfect man, but for the believer. Daniel didn't know it yet, but his next lesson would be even deeper. A truth about patience and timing. Because even when you believe, sometimes life says, wait. It had been 2 months since Daniel started his morning routine. Every day he repeated his truths. I am capable. I am thankful. I will not give up. I will stay disciplined. I believe in myself. But still, life was quiet. No big success. No sudden change. Just small steps. Small progress. Sometimes Daniel felt like the world was moving fast while he was stuck in the same place. He looked at his phone. Everyone seemed to be doing better, moving ahead, smiling in photos, showing success. He whispered, why not me? I'm working hard. I'm doing everything right. That morning, he almost skipped writing in his notebook, but something inside told him to open it. When he did, a new thought came to his heart, something he had heard Denzel Washington say once. Faith means believing when you don't to see the result. Delayed doesn't mean denied. Those words felt like sunlight after a storm. Daniel picked up his pen and wrote his sixth truth. 6. I trust the timing of my life. He looked at those words carefully. They felt peaceful, like a reminder to breathe. He realized that maybe things were not happening to him. Maybe they were happening for him. Maybe the delay was not a punishment but preparation. He thought about a seed. When planted, it doesn't grow in one day. It stays hidden in the dark for weeks before it breaks through the ground. Maybe his life was just like that seed, growing in silence. He closed his eyes and smiled. My time will come, he whispered. That day, instead of rushing, he slowed down. He enjoyed his breakfast. He took a walk without thinking of problems. He noticed the sky. The same sky that had always been there, but he never really looked at. For the first time, he felt peace in waiting. He understood now. Success isn't about being first. It's about being ready when your moment arrives. That night, he wrote one more line under his truth. The delay is not a stop. It's a sign that I'm being prepared for something greater. And as he went to sleep, Daniel didn't worry anymore. He didn't feel lost. Because now, he trusted life. Its timing, its lessons, its slow but perfect rhythm. He didn't know it yet, but this patience would soon be tested. Because the next truth would teach him something even more powerful. The strength of kindness and compassion, even when life feels unfair.